all that we are recording this session. And just a couple of little housekeeping things before I do introductions. In Teams, your cameras are shut off, but your mics are on. And so we're asking you to keep them muted unless you're raising your hand and have a question to ask. We also have the hand raise option for those of you who want to ask questions during the presentation. And of course, chat for questions. We have some really good people who are here to respond to your chat, to your questions in the chat. So feel free to do that as well. We have two sign-in forms for this presentation. The first one we're asking everyone to sign in, and Lorena will be putting the link in the chat rather. And then if you want credit, because we know many of you probably don't have EPCC IDs or your facilitators. However, if you're here and you do have an EPCC ID and you want faculty development credit, that will be the second sign in, and you'll have to sign in twice for that. Did I say that right, Lorena?
Yes.
Good. I wrote it down, but I wasn't sure if I said it right. Okay, so on to introductions. Welcome and Happy New Year to everybody, and welcome to the Spring 2024 Faculty Development Week. We're midway now, almost done actually, and of course the Spring 2024 semester. I hope everyone had a good break and is ready to go for this semester. We have with us today Tony Badillo, who is the Dean of Dual Credit and Early College High School Programs. We have Luz Cadena, who is the Director of Distance Learning Support Services. Hi, Luz. Lorena Gonzalez, who you see over there in the teal shirt. She is my fellow dual credit coordinator, instructional coordinator. And my name is Sue Selk, and I am also a dual credit instructional coordinator for APCC. We're really happy you're here. We know that many of you have attended, or some of you at least have attended previous sessions. And so today we thought we would mix it up just a little bit. Lorena and I are going to do a little quiz, a Kahoot quiz, 10 questions, right, Lorena? Yeah, 10 questions. And so you'll need your devices for that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. And as you can see from the agenda here, we actually have the agenda with the Kahoot added from our last workshop that we had in the fall. And we want you to know that with the Kahoot, we'll try to answer a lot of your questions, and feel free to ask questions during the Kahoot. And we might not answer them if we think the answer is coming up somewhere else, though. So we might ignore you a little bit. But this presentation and the link to this recording will be on the Dual Credit webpage. And so I think we need somebody to mute. Got it? Okay. And so that will be found on the website. You have to give us a moment for it to be uploaded and everything, but you'll be able to find all of those things in case something hasn't been answered. Of course, there's other resources for that too, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Okay, so I think this is where we're going to start the Kahoot, right? So if you have your devices with you, here is the information for the Kahoot. We're waiting for players. So go ahead and log into www.kahoot.it, or if you have the Kahoot app, this is the pin. Also, if you there's no pressure here. So if you don't have your device handy, or you're not really into the devices, into using your device for this, please, if you want to, you can write the answers in the chat. And actually what you could do is just put the color of the correct answer. I think they're like orange and yellow and blue and that kind of thing, and you can put that in the chat as well. Okay, ooh, it looks like we're filling up.
Did anyone also attend the Quick Bites on Monday?
If you did, then you saw us cahooting. We usually have our MC Erica Portillo to help us with that. So you're getting an Erica less Kahoot session this time around. And it's probably not as much, maybe as much fun because she's pretty wacky. I see some familiar names here, but not everybody's using their names. What do you think, Lorena?
We have about 65 on Teams.
Okay.
Wait a few more moments. If anyone else would like to join, or as Sue mentioned, we can put our answers into the Teams chat
if you'd like.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do essentially with this is just an interactive way to pose a question, get an answer, and then talk about the correct answer and expand on things, and answer some questions too if you have questions about that particular thing. What do you think? Are we ready? Okay. All right. Hello, Donna Sanders. How are you?
Doing great. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Let's Kahoot. Okay, first question. Naming a high school online facilitator is optional for the high school. True or false? Oh. So we had how many? So we had false, that which is the correct answer. How many did we have that said true?
9.
Okay. All right. And and you maybe you just don't know that, but it is not optional, right? It's part of the dual credit procedure. In the last couple of workshops that we've given recently, we've focused on this just a little bit more, right? I mean, we have wanted to underscore the fact that it's really part of our the partnership agreements and the dual credit procedure, the EPCC dual credit procedure, that the high school name an online facilitator. And we could talk a little bit more. I have a tendency to give answers to other questions, so I don't want to elaborate too much because I had something to say, but I think it might be in another slide. But just know that facilitators are there as contact people, right? So we at least need contact so that we can ensure that the students get into the course, that they have the right equipment. And then, of course, there's a lot more about that role that we can talk about a little bit later. Did you have anything to add? Okay.
I think the rest of the details are coming up in the questions.
I was afraid. I'm not good. I'm really good at that. Okay. Oh, and how do we do?
Ooh.
Rock and Roller, Coach Reno, Wonder Woman, Comic Sans, and Paula Woods. You weren't afraid to use your name. Okay. Next question. Facilitators support student success by being a point of contact for the EPCC instructor, aiding student understanding of what it means to be in a college class, helping with initial difficulties navigating an online course, and encouraging students to be independent learners and self-advocates, and all of the above.
Ooh,
Oh, we had
pretty
a little
good.
bit, yeah, a little bit of a spread. Uh, the answer is all of the above, obviously. Did you want to talk a little bit about this, Sorrento, or do you want me to?
I'm just gonna maybe comment on somebody who answered the red and the blue. Maybe you read those first and clicked, but yes, all of the above are true. We do want the facilitator to be there as support for the students in the online section. Excuse me. Go ahead, Sue.
I'm sorry. Yeah, she's had a cough, so I actually am supposed to be doing more of the answering. And this is what I was afraid I was going to talk about in the first question. It, it the role can vary depending on the instructor and the relationship that the facilitator and instructor have. And the instructor, some instructors want a lot of involvement on the behalf of the facilitator. And maybe that particular facilitator isn't able for whatever reason to do that, right? But so the roles can really vary, and it's really up to those two individuals to kind of work out the degree to which the facilitator will be involved. However, these particular roles are really key in getting those students to start initially, perhaps with a little bit more support, and then as they move through the semester, really being left not alone, but left to be independent, right? And to know how to advocate for themselves and to talk to the teacher. I think that was one of the things I saw this semester in a couple of my classes where, at first the facilitators were talking for the students a lot, and I understood that. I did, because it was the first time that they had taken some online courses with us. But I did ask that they would have the students contact me personally. And I appreciated their involvement, and they were able to tell me when equipment wasn't working or if students didn't have access. I think that's a really important part of a facilitator's role. I'm talking too much. And don't forget, if you have questions. Ooh, Coach Reno. I'm not very good at remembering who had what the first time around, but I think Rock and Roller was up there at the top. Good job. True or false? Online facilitators can ask the EPCC instructor for final grades and submit them to their high school. True or false? Oh,
Interesting.
it is interesting. So, and I'm reading this, it's really small for me. So Tony is popping up. Is there something you'd like to say? Oop, you're muted.
Yeah, here we go. All right.
There you go.
So I figured that I would jump in for this question because we really have pretty much an even split here. So FARPA, right, can be kind of like a deterrent for sharing information. However, of course, for educational purposes, we can do it. So we can do it throughout the semester, provided that the instructor, is willing to provide information and is not too burdensome. Just remind you that our faculty teach many classes. They teach students in many different high schools. Sometimes it is difficult to identify which students go to which high school. But final grades, and that is this question, right? Final grades are the official grades, and those cannot be shared by the instructor. So we ask facilitators, don't even ask, because instructors are not going to share. All of your high schools have access to the EPCC dashboards. And as soon as the grades are posted, Your high school counselor, your assistant principal, whoever has access to the dashboards have access to those grades. So I hope that answered the question.
That was very good. And I think sometimes Tony will often remind all of us that during the semester, it is up to the instructor if they want to share or not. You also have to remember that as a facilitator, it really is not a violation of FERPA, and Tony will jump in if something has changed, but it's not a violation of FERPA on your part to be able to even stand over the shoulder of a student while they have their gradebook open. It's perfectly acceptable to do that. Students can also, if for some reason they don't feel like they have enough of their grades in Blackboard Gradebook, which I hope they would, but if they don't, they can certainly contact the instructor and use what is that form, Lorena? It's the
academic progress.
I couldn't remember it. I was starting out with student. I knew that was wrong. The academic progress report, and I think that can be found on the dual credit website as well, I think.
Yeah, it should be under the documents page.
Right, on the documents page. So it's good if all the students in a class don't do it all at once, because it takes a little time to fill out the forms, but students certainly can do that too. So it's the final grades that, because we assign letter grades and we will not give percentages either. So that has to go through the high school dashboard from the registrar's office. Yeah, so that's a little, that split was a little concerning. Wonder Woman is at top. Gee, I wonder who Wonder Woman might be. Okay. Next question. Discrepancies in the high school and college rosters should be addressed with the high school dual credit contact. Oop, that's a good one. And this is kind of a tricky one, and I have trouble with this a little bit because as a facilitator, our dual credit instructors, we get into our self-service banner and we get our own rosters, but you're not going to be able to do that. So you are going to have to get your rosters, the EPCC rosters rather, from your dual credit contact at the high school. And if you have a high school roster and you see that they don't match with the EPCC roster, it's really not, we're not the ones that put those students into the EPCC class. So it's always best to go back to the dual credit contact in order to clear up those discrepancies. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, and I think the concern is that if this high school student is not on the college roster, they don't have
Right.
access to Blackboard, they can't start the course. So
Right.
we want those two rosters to match as quickly as possible. So it does take a little while for students to get placed into the courses. Online students, I think, are the priority though. So if you do see a discrepancy, make sure you contact your high school contact for sure.
Right. And remember, the questions can go in the chat too. So if you have any questions, please feel free
the
to.
chat's really quiet. It's usually
It
really
is.
hopping.
Well, and this is a weird format for us, so I have a feeling they don't know what's coming up next. So they're kind of holding questions maybe too. Ooh, Wonder Woman's still at top. Rena. Rena and Harry. Hi, Harry. And Coach Reno. Sorry. And Betsy came up 10 places. Okay, next question. Facilitators have access to Blackboard.
This is probably one of the biggest questions we always get.
I know the answer. Ooh, okay. Well, most people understand the sad fact Unfortunately, right now, and for quite a while, facilitators do not have access to Blackboard. And I am going to get to that question in the chat in just a second too. When we went to a single sign-on at the college, that prohibited people who do not have EPCC ID numbers or who don't have some kind of status. Dual credit instructors have a volunteer faculty status, so they're able to access Blackboard. The facilitators do not. And believe me, this was something that we didn't want because we thought it was a good idea for you to have at least some kind of guest access so you could get in, look at the syllabus, and things like that. So, and I think Lorena might address a little bit more how you might be able to do that in just a second. Um, and so, yeah, you don't have access. So there's ways that you have to try to get around that. Like I said, you can look over the shoulder of your students to at least, say, pull up the syllabus and let's print it, or, you can do some of those kinds of things. It's not ideal. Okay, Comic Sans, a little font humor. Rena, Wonder Woman, Harry.
Before we
Ren.
go to the next one,
Mhm.
Catherine, you have a question mark. I'm not sure what your question is.
Let me unmute. Apparently the only thing that showed up was my question mark. My question was, what is the difference between a facilitator and a dual credit instructor? And the reason I'm asking is because I'm a dual credit instructor. I've been told I'm fully credentialed now, but I don't have access to Blackboard.
Address that. Catherine, what are you credentialed in?
Theater.
Theater. And has your high school requested a college class for you?
They haven't requested a college class for me. They've requested a drama 1310. They've created that class that I'm teaching.
Right. So that means that they requested the course and
Yes.
asked for you to be the instructor of record. So for that
Yes.
class, you
And
would be the instructor.
And my students, it's showing up in their Blackboard, but it's not showing up on my Blackboard.
Right. So if it is theater, I'm guessing Dinguera, right, would be
Yes.
the division. So sometimes, again, classes haven't started yet. I can already tell you that my fellow deans have some stacks of faculty action forms sitting on their desk, and they're frantically, processing them. So it could be that you have not been assigned to the class officially in Banner, but it is in progress. So just hang in there tight, keep on checking, and I bet you. Now, do you see your class in self-service Banner 9?
I don't see it in anything.
Okay, that means that you haven't been assigned the class. So
Okay.
I know that Sue is taking note because that is her
Yes.
dean. So she's going to follow up for you, okay?
All right.
I am going to, I'll call the admin in the morning, okay, Catherine? Catherine Walling, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what school are you at, Catherine?
Horizon High School.
Horizon, okay. And that's probably what's happened. They have this form, faculty action, what is it? Assignment action form? A FAP. And that has to go to, even though you're not going to get paid, it still has to go over so that you can be assigned the class as a volunteer, a faculty member. Okay?
Thank
So
you.
just to clarify,
Sure.
the difference between a facilitator and the instructor of record. Instructor of record is the instructor, the teacher, giving the content, assigning the grades at the end of the semester. The facilitator is there to support the students, does not deal with grades, does not deal with instruction other than the support of the student.
All right. Thank you for that clarification.
Right. Sure. Okay.
I ask a quick question. I apologize.
Sure.
Talking about like making sure that the rosters match. We have a couple students that we're not able to get them into the facilitated course because their PAM or their PSI is not showing up on the EPC side. We did send out, proof and pictures showing that they did complete the PAM and they did do the PSI. How long of that? How long is that process from the testing center at EPCC? Because it's taking quite a while, and we're not sure who to contact other than that email that we sent.
I think I'd like Dean Badillo to take that question. Wouldn't you, Lorena?
I'm sorry. Good evening, Mr. Smith. If I understood correctly, you submitted your roster. All of the students had all their documentation, right? Before you submitted them. So Applied Texas, early admissions, they had their prerequisites, everything was in place. Did
Correct.
some of the students get registered and others didn't?
Yes, we have 3 students that they're, as the system is not showing as if they took the PAM or the TSI. So we were told to send out the proof to the testing center via email so they can have those proof and clear those kids and make sure that their scores are going up so they can qualify for that dual credit class. But it's, we've sent them out before the Christmas break. We're sending them out again at the beginning of this week, and we just haven't heard anything. And, we're trying to just clear all our rosters to match before next Tuesday.
Right. So I appreciate that. I have to tell you that we were also on break, so nothing happened. Well, all of us were on break. So we just started, I guess, last Thursday. So I would say reach out, Mr. Ismail, to your specialist and copy Ms. Diana Medina. I'm going to write her email address here shortly. She is our new dual credit counseling coordinator, who is taking over Mr. Chavez's role. So she can also help you follow up.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on.
So this question ran while we were answering that other question. So let's talk about these results.
Oh, I didn't see. Okay, facilitators should confirm any connectivity or computer issues that students are having with the EPCC instructor.
And I think Luz will talk a little bit more about this later, but Sue, if you want to.
Well, and I did. I will say, I mean, I didn't want to get up on a soapbox, but I've been teaching dual credit sections, online sections that have lots of dual credit students in them. This past semester, I had quite a rash of like stolen computers, like when an assignment was due, or connectivity issues and things like that. And I'm not trying to make fun of the situation, but I think that what I've decided that is I really need the facilitator to confirm that those students are having equipment issues or connectivity issues, because for some reason I noticed that some of them were using that as an excuse, maybe not to do assignments. And part of it was my fault because I was, oh, sure, if something has happened to your computer, and then all of a sudden a bunch of other people had trouble with their computer too. So my fault in some ways, so because I was trying to be kind. But I think as a facilitator, that is something that would be great if you could keep on top of that and notify the instructors.
Again, it's that communication between what's happening with the students, what's happening with the instructor of record.
Right.
Okay, any questions before we move on? I don't want to skip ahead early again. Excuses can be contagious.
Yes, they can.
All right, next question. Or results, actually, and then next question.
Ooh, Comic Sans is still at the top. Wonder Woman, Harry, Rena, Bill. 8 players just hit answer streak 3.
Excellent. Next question.
Erica does this much better than I do. Facilitators are responsible for ensuring that all students have the correct college textbook.
Another
True
hot
or
topic.
false? Yep, hot topic.
Hot topic, hot topic.
Oh,
Mm,
good. Pretty good, right?
pretty good.
What is it, 20? I can't read
26 to
it.
7.
26 to 7. And obviously the answer is true. You are responsible for ensuring that students have the correct college textbook. And it's a hot topic, and maybe we'll get some questions here in the chat. I was actually in a session yesterday where they were talking a little bit about the problems, and we would want to encourage you once again, the dual credit contact. And I see that Dean Badillo answered that question, is how do you find out who your dual credit contact is? She said it's typically the counselor assigned to dual credit, but you can ask your assistant, your principal, or your assistant principal also, and they should be able to tell you which textbooks. Dean Badillo's office keeps track of the correct textbook. However, our policy sometimes trips that up a little bit because schools are allowed to use, the whole district is allowed to use a textbook for a 4-year window of use for most disciplines, not all disciplines, right? And so that can be a little bit of a problem. Dean Badillo, I see your face.
Yeah, I just want to interject that window, right, of 2 to 4 years is only for face-to-face classes at the high school, not for online.
Good
right?
point. Good
So,
point. Ooh, that's a good point.
How do you find out what is a textbook that is required? Again, you can check with my office. We make an effort to provide that information when asked. The syllabus, of course, the instructor syllabus is a great option. And I understand that sometimes the turnaround time, right, to get those textbooks or access codes might be quick. Some districts are doing fantastic, right? They are finding options that allow students to get whatever textbook first day of classes. We also have first day adoption now. More and more disciplines are opting for first day adoption, which the students would have their textbook off of Blackboard directly first day of classes. And of course, they can opt out if they already have it in another way. And we have many OER options as well. So I'd be happy to expand more on this with anybody in particular if you have any questions. But I think mostly, yes, the facilitator, we need to make sure that students have those textbooks and not, wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right? And we want to get away from those free 2-week free trials, because we know that very, very quickly that those 2 weeks go by and students really need to, they fall behind, right? It's not fair to the students.
Right. It's also tricky because, if you're sending in an enrollment roster form and you have a dual credit, you request a dual credit section. Now you might have traditional students in there too at some point, but if you have a designated dual credit section, then you're going to have the default textbook, right? But if you place students, if sometimes schools will find sections and they'll place students in a section, there's no guarantee that teacher is going to be using the designated default textbook for the discipline, and that's the dual credit online textbook. And so that's another little trick, a little problem that can occur as well. I haven't heard
questions,
anything.
situations on textbooks? I know this is a common question, so we want to give ourselves time to answer it. Exactly.
I did notice this semester that, and I think some of those people might be in the room, I was really appreciative. They emailed me, the counselors emailed me as an instructor, as an online instructor. But I wear the other dual credit hat. So I was appreciative of the fact that they asked before Christmas, what textbook I was going to be using so that they wouldn't be caught in the switches and they would have the appropriate materials for the student. So I thought that was very helpful too.
All right, next question then.
Okay.
moving along.
Comic Sans. Boy, God, we have the same ones there.
Who is Comic Sans? If you want to put your name in
Really,
the chat.
Comic Sans. I guess you get bragging rights. I think that's the only thing
Mhm.
that we're dual credit bragging rights if you win this time around.
All right, here we go.
True or false? EPCC instructor information can be searched for on the EPCC website.
Very nice.
Yes.
So I think this ties perfectly into that textbook discussion, because if you have a section, you get the instructor's name, how do you actually contact that EPCC instructor? Our search feature on the website is pretty great. You're able to search not just through the website, but there's a find people kind of search on there. Put in the instructor's name, emails, and that's the way you can contact them pretty quickly on the website.
Right. And once again, you would have to get the instructor's name
From your high school contact.
Dual credit contact.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we don't emphasize that enough, is that you really do have a resource. They're very, and like all of us, they're very busy, but that really is part of their duties in terms of dual credit, right? So I would take advantage of their knowledge.
All right.
Or if they don't know, they can find out.
Yes. All right, everything stayed the same. Very nice. We're almost
Yeah.
there. So we're getting along there. All right, next question.
Okay. The relationship between facilitator and EPCC instructor is universal. I answered that question already.
Ah,
Oh, interesting.
you know, I like these responses. I like the idea that it could be true. Yes. Go for it, Sue.
Exactly. Well, and the idea of universal, I mean, and maybe there was a little confusion over what we meant by that, but what we were trying to get at was that they're all the same. And of course, in my typical fashion, I told you at the very beginning that they're at the second question that they're actually probably not the same. And part of the reason for that is not all schools will have facilitators that maybe even education are highly qualified in the area. They might have in smaller schools, they might have a counselor, they might have a librarian or somebody that works in the office as their facilitator, as a contact person. And so you might have varying degrees of involvement in terms of what duties of the facilitator will perform. When we were talking earlier, there's those basic things that we really want to see, and of course, especially for equipment and things like that. But I know that we have some instructors who wish that they had stronger relationships with their facilitator, that they would hear from them or be able to get a hold of them.
Mhm.
And then we have kind of the range, right? Of
I was just going to add that even on the EPCC instructor side, that can be varying in involvement also. I know instructors who are able to go to the high schools to meet their online students face to face.
Right.
Other instructors aren't able to do that for scheduling or just other reasons. Maybe they have students from 5 different high schools in their one online class. So both sides have varying degrees of involvement, but that communication still should start at some point, right, Sue?
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. So it's ideal that we live in that world where we had strong supportive relationships, but that it doesn't always work that way. Okay, I think the last question, right?
Ooh, Wonder Woman came back up.
Are we going to ask for people's identity? Are we going to ask them to show themselves afterwards?
We should. All right, last question.
This is a multiple choice. More information on facilitator roles and responsibilities can be found in The handbook for facilitators found on the EPCC dual credit website. College procedure GH2 high school dual credit program requirements. The Faculty Development Week booklet.
Remember, you can select more than one.
One, that's right. I shouldn't have said multiple choice, should I? Sorry.
Very nice. Yes.
Oh, good. Yep. The handbook for facilitators can be found on the dual credit website. We do, in previous presentations, we've gone through that a little bit more. The handbook does kind of give you some very basic information, and then it kind of goes through what you do at the beginning of the semester, the middle of the semester, and the end of the semester. Like at the end of the semester, we really want you to encourage your students to do the online evaluations of their instructors, get them to open up their email. That's toward the end of the semester. And then what are some of the other things? I just saw something in the chat, but
Yeah, so the handbook is posted on the website with all that information. It was
right.
fairly recently updated. Sue and I do go through these workbooks. Takes a little while to update certain ones
Yeah.
of them, but we do try to
Right.
keep that information up to date. Also outlined in the college procedure. This is the procedure for all of our dual credit program. That one is also being updated at the moment with our standing
Right.
committee, but a lot of information can be found in that as well.
Absolutely. And it does outline the facilitators' roles and responsibilities in there. Team video?
Tony?
Yeah, so I wanted to answer Alex's question. Good to see you, Alejandra. So, right, with your EPCC instructor hat, right? Not your dual credit instructor
That's the
hat.
question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So here is the tricky part of matching facilitators with instructors of record. I'll give you an example of the fall semester. So the deadline, right, to submit documentation for the fall semester is really April. So when a high school submits a request for a course, and if it is online, they have to add who the facilitator is, contact information. Many, many times between April and August, that changes, right? So early on, when my division opened in 2016, we really tried, right, to match and to introduce them. But more often than not, we would get a response saying, oh, no, this person doesn't work here anymore. No, I'm not the facilitator for that class, right? So it wasn't until probably October that we would actually kind of finish, sorting that out, which wasn't really helpful, right? So that's why in these workshops, the facilitator workshops, we are encouraging facilitators to look up the instructor record and make the first move, right? Make that initial contact. And I think that would be probably the most efficient way of doing it. Again, we can certainly, if you have a question, you can always reach out to me or my office, and we can do a little bit of detective work. Not easy, right? It's not easy because we would have to contact the school and find out and get that information for you. So all of you who are facilitators, please take a note of this question, right? And please, first day of classes, reach out to the instructor record and just introduce yourself. Sorry, Alejandra.
Yeah, in an ideal world, we would want to meet up together before and talk through things, but logistically, it's very difficult. All right, shall we see who won, Sue? Do you think it was Wonder Woman or Comic Sans? Do you think Comic Sans came back?
I don't know. They were in a battle there, so let's see.
Let's see. Oh, they got third.
Oh, Comic Sans in third. Harry, way to go, Harry. I like your icon. And drum roll,
how
Wonder Woman. Gee, I wish I knew who those people were.
Very nice, very nice. Before we do move on to Wonder Woman's part of our presentation, there was one more question in the chat.
I see that. Who should we notify if the facilitator changes mid-semester? I think it's a good idea, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it would be the dual credit student services side of the house, right? So the Dual Credit Student Services Office to update the ERF. Tony, is that the correct answer? Oh,
Well, the thing is that by the end of the middle of the semester,
mhm.
that is not a very direct route, right? So the more
I guess
immediate
not.
is just contact the
The
instructor of
instructor.
record, right?
You're right.
And
Yeah,
then just
you're right.
say, we have a new facilitator, this is the information. Or have the new facilitator contact the instructor of record and say, I am the
You're
new
right.
facilitator.
You're right.
Just for efficiency.
I was thinking official as opposed to smart. Very good. Oops. Lorena, you're muted. I could see your hands moving.
You would think 4 years later. But I was just mentioning, we hope you think that that was useful. We wanted to mix things up, try things, because we realized the presentation was very similar every time. The full slides for those questions and a little more explanation on them, again, will be posted to the Dual Credit website along
Right.
with the recording of this session. Before we move to the Blackboard and the DLSS section, are there any other questions?
Yeah, things have been a little
Very
quiet.
quiet, very quiet.
Well, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, maybe it's because I came in as a guest on my school computer, but I cannot access the chat. And so maybe that's for several of us.
Oh, that's a good point. I did see that little message that said some people in this chat are outside your organization. It's possible they have message related policies. So is it keeping you from like raising your hand or obviously not talking though? So just chime in if you have to.
Sure. And I was just going to ask if somebody could maybe put up the dual credit website link.
Sure.
Since I can't, I was going to do that. And then that way we could find the handbook for.
Yeah, let me walk you through that. I think that's a really good, just kind of show a few things on the EPCC website. So if you go to the main EPCC website, the search feature that I talked a little bit about a while ago is here. Again, you can search the website. You can find people if you're the looking for the instructor of record, put in their name, their information will show up here, email, phone number, which is great. For the dual credit website, if you click through the menu, you click academics, you'll see dual credit early college high school. You could also use the search feature and just put dual credit. It'll pop up all of our dual credit sites, and this is the main page here. So in our dual credit website, we have our mission statement, we have contact information for our counselors and our advisors, partnership agreements, so what's understood between the two parties. We have an expectation page, so what students should expect, what parents and guardians should expect. I think this is a really nice addition in recent years to our website. The other main page that you want to look at on the dual credit site is this documents. We have our calendar guides here, more for the registration side of things, but it's good information to know as well. This is where you can find the student progress report. If you're looking to find, how your students are doing from their instructor of record, the form isn't here. These are the textbook lists that Sue was kind of mentioning earlier, but again, there's some details between, what instructor, because they're the EPCC instructor, there's some different options for them, but this is good information. Go ahead.
The one thing, well, maybe I shouldn't mention it, but if you do look into the dual credit textbook list, they do have contact information for textbooks too, for the district-wide or whoever is responsible for textbooks in that discipline. And you're welcome to contact them too, and they might be able to give you more information as well.
Correct. Here are the handbooks. So you have handbooks for administrators, facilitators, instructors, parents, students. The facilitators version, like we mentioned earlier, was recently updated. It has a breakdown, as Sue mentioned, first start of the semester, middle of semester, end of semester, which is great. The professional development, this is where the particular this session's recording will be posted. This is last fall, so you get an idea of the slides already. we update this every semester to make sure that the information is what you're seeing in your classes. So it goes through, again, those Kahoot questions that we just asked you, a little more detail, but at the very end, you'll see the link to the recording on YouTube. It does take a few weeks for the recording to be posted and everything to be approved, but that will be posted, updated in a few weeks there. The other contact information on the bottom of every page is the main email contact for the dual credit programs here. Sue and I will also be available to answer questions, and we'll put our information up on the last slide when we get to it in a few minutes here. So if you do have additional questions, we will be more than happy to help out with that.
Absolutely.
Was that helpful?
I'm glad you went through that because there were some things that we didn't get to.
Yes, it's helpful. Funny though that when you type it in and search for it, it doesn't pop up.
It doesn't pop up?
Dual credit pops up, but if you search for handbook for facilitators or
okay,
Yeah.
I see.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's within the site. I don't know if the search feature goes that far
Deep.
into them. Yeah.
Right.
But just in general, if you're looking for something form-wise, we try to have as much information in that documents page. A lot of it is linked to other parts of our EPCC website, but what pertaining to dual credit, we try to keep it in this area. On the public side as well, we have other few little things internally in our MyEPCC, but for facilitators and those admin who don't have EPCC login credentials, we try to put as much information here as possible. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything else you would like to see on the website? More clarification on?
Actually, I think maybe we need to get to Ms. Luz.
Yes.
What do you think? I was
That
just looking at
sounds
the time. We could talk for days. Hey there, Ms. Luz.
Hi, hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Luz Cadena. I am the Director of Distance Learning Support Services. So we want to share some information about Blackboard and some tips and tricks to help you and your students be successful this semester. Okay, so do I have access to the PowerPoint? No, you'll click it for me? Okay, all right. Good. So students will be accessing Blackboard through My EPCC. So in order to access My EPCC, students are going to have to know their login credentials, which is the EPCC, their EPCC email and their password. We don't have a lot of issues with this in the spring, but this tends to be a bigger issue in the fall. But students who are taking online courses at EPCC for the first time are going to need to have that information. So it's always good to start working on that now so that they have that ready to rock and roll starting next week. So students can get their username if they don't have it through the EPCC website. That same menu that Lorena clicked on to find the dual credit page. Toward the bottom of that menu is an option called Account Recovery. And if they know their ID number, they can search for their username. Now, where students may struggle is setting that password because it uses their personal email that's in Banner to send them a link to recover that password. And some dual credit students, maybe a lot of them may not have done that. So they should have, I think, through their applications. So if students are having issues with their login information, it's very important that they contact the EPCC IT department. The IT department oversees the login credentials for the college. Now, here's a tip. If students are going to call the EPCC IT department at 6440, it's important that they say that they can't log into My EPCC. They should always try to log into My EPCC first. If they can log into My EPCC, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to log in to Blackboard. But if students can't log into Blackboard or My EPCC, rather My EPCC, when students call, please have them tell IT that they can't log into My EPCC. Because the moment that the help desk here at EPCC hears the word Blackboard, they send them to us at distance learning. The student comes to us and says, I can't log in, I don't know my email. And we have to say, sorry, but you have to go to IT because they're the ones who oversee that. So just make sure they say, I can't log into my EPCC. We don't want to give students the runaround. And so that is really going to help IT focus on helping that individual student get that login information. Okay, now, is it possible that a student can log into my EPCC but not log into Blackboard? Yes, it can be possible because they have been admitted to the college as a student, but they haven't been yet enrolled into a course. So they're in the EPCC system, but but Banner hasn't sent that enrollment into Blackboard. And the student hasn't been registered for a course, there's no reason, and they're a brand new student to the college, then they're not going to be in Blackboard yet. And I do know that registering dual credit students can take, it's a little bit more of a laborious process because it is manual. And so that can take a little bit of time. So, but to confirm that, you can always call now distance learning. So we'll ask, can you log into my EPCC? Yes. Our next step, we'll know that we can say, okay, let's check to see if you're in Blackboard. We'll put the student's ID number. If nothing pops up, the student isn't in Blackboard yet. Okay, so student credentials, email credentials are really important. IT can help students with that. Okay, all right, let's move on here. Do I have control? Because I don't see it.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
That's okay. That's okay. Oh, is that the noise I hear?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No
Let me
worries.
give you control and then.
Sure.
Does it not let you either?
I do not see it.
Okay, hold on.
Sure. See, even distance learning has technical issues sometimes. Any questions so far about the login credentials? That's a big one. So these next couple of days, it's really important to work on those with students because Monday is a holiday for the college, Martin Luther King Jr. It might be for you all too, I'm not sure. And so the college is closed. So we have tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday to try to get that figured out for students before classes start on Tuesday. All right, so this is that page we were talking about. If you go to the EPCC website, you trigger those 3 lines, the menu. Down at the bottom, it says account recovery. And so students have never logged into the EPC system before, they need to set the password. They can click where it says regain access. But if they don't even know their username, their EPCC email, they can click where it says forgot username, type in their ID number, and then they'll get their username. Now, students may not even know their ID number, their 800 number, but you should have that on the roster. I believe their ID numbers are located on that roster. Okay? All right. Oh, I see the arrows now. Cool. There we go. Okay, so once students log into Blackboard, and if they can log in now, they can certainly do that, but they won't see their courses yet. So courses will not appear under that current courses tab until the first day of class. If they go to the upcoming courses arrow on the right-hand side of the Blackboard screen, they'll be able to see those courses that they're registered for, but they won't be able to access them. So they'll know that they're in that course. But at 12:01, right after midnight on Tuesday, which is the official first day of the semester, those courses will shift from upcoming courses to current courses, and the students can access those. Now, courses close to students at 11:59 p.m. on the last day of the term. And I know the question has come up about opening courses early for dual credit or keeping them open later, and we're just not able to do that. Those due dates are all controlled by Banner. And so it's important that, especially final exams, that they complete them on time because there's no way that we can manually go back and open the course for students. Okay. So a couple of FAQs questions that come up, and this one's already been answered. Can facilitators access the Blackboard courses? They can't, and we haven't been able to do that for a while because, as Ms. Sue explained, that's single sign-on. Again, can courses be opened early? They cannot. Those are regulated by Banner. I do want to say that all the data that's in Blackboard, faculty assignments, student enrollment, all that data in Blackboard is provided by Banner. So Blackboard doesn't do anything independently. So it has to be processed in Banner first, and then Banner will send that information into Blackboard. Okay, so what if it's the first day of class and there is absolutely no content in the course? It can happen. It has happened before. It's important that the facilitator you contact, you can try certainly contacting the instructor, but you can also contact the dean or the coordinator immediately so that they can get in touch with that instructor to see what's going on. Okay. What if the student's course isn't in Blackboard yet? So the first thing you can do is to confirm that the student has been registered for that course. Again, Blackboard won't do anything until it's processed in Banner. So once it's in Banner, depending what time of the day, it can take up to 12 hours for that information to go into Blackboard. So the communication between Banner and Blackboard isn't instantaneous. We wish it was, but it isn't. Banner sends data to Blackboard 3 times a day at 7 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. So if a student was registered at 9 in the morning in Banner, they won't appear in Blackboard until 3 in the afternoon. If they were registered at 8 o'clock in the evening, they won't appear until 7 a.m. The next morning. But if it's been more than 24 hours and you know the student was registered in Banner, but they're still not showing up in Blackboard, please contact us so we can figure it out. Sometimes there are glitches in the matrix. Sometimes there are technical errors, and so we can get that fixed immediately. The same thing can happen when students are dropped. If a student is dropped from the course, it can take about 12 hours to for that student to disappear from the Blackboard course. What's really important, and I know we have faculty in the session here, it's important to compare those Banner rosters to the roster in Blackboard. The Blackboard roster is not the official roster. The Banner roster is the official roster. And if there are discrepancies, we need to figure out why. Because there have been many instances, well, I want to say many, but enough, where students have completed courses, but they weren't actually registered for that course. So we need to be careful with those kinds of things. Okay. I think the arrow disappeared. There it is. Okay, so this fall we completed our transition to Blackboard Learn Ultra. So we're still using Blackboard. That hasn't changed. It's just the course view, the way the Blackboard courses look, that has changed. So we are fully in Blackboard Learn Ultra. It's a much cleaner, more intuitive user interface. Students have said that it's much easier for them to navigate, and it is much easier for faculty, although faculty, we struggle with it because it is something different. We've been using Blackboard Learn Original for, I believe, about 20 years. So all courses are now in Blackboard Learn Ultra. We won't have to worry about students taking courses in 2 different course views. The interface is very similar to what students see in the Blackboard app. And Blackboard Learn Ultra is responsive, so students can access Blackboard Learn Ultra through their web browsers, and they can actually go through the course. Now, we don't recommend students type essays or take assessments or tests on a mobile phone, but in a pinch, if they have to message their instructor, if they have to participate in a discussion board, they can certainly do that from their mobile devices because Ultra is responsive. Troubleshooting Blackboard. So sometimes we get what we call the dreaded black screen of death. It's not that as dramatic as I make it seem, but sometimes we leave Blackboard open on our computer screen and we don't interact in the Blackboard. And as a security measure, it locks us out. There's 3 very easy steps that you can take to fix this. One, you can click that return to the login page, and it should take you right back to the login page. If it doesn't, all you need to do is close the browser completely, reopen it, and you're right back in. If that doesn't work either, the next step is to clear the browser history, and then that will 100% clear that up. The key is to clear the cache and to clear the history from all time. Now, you don't have to clear your passwords, but you do have to clear the cache from all time. And we recommend students clear the browser history every once in a while so that it allows Blackboard to run smoothly, okay? So we have a question in the chat. If a student does not have a class in Blackboard, can it be because they have an academic hold? The question is, if they can't be registered for the course, it's because they have an academic hold. Again, it won't appear in Blackboard until it appears in Banner. So if they can't be registered for the course in Banner, it could be because they have an academic hold, okay? All right, so UZs and SKUs, at least for you, you can, yes, you can show that to them. And by the way, in Blackboard, on the main menu, when you first log into Blackboard, toward the bottom of that menu, the base navigation menu, is a link called Assist. It's a student resource page. On that student resource page, the Assist page, we have a document called Clear Your Browser History. And it's a PDF that shows you how to clear your browser history for all the browsers. Safari, Google, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and I don't know if I've missed any others, but it shows you the steps on how to clear your browser history. So it's on the Blackboard Assist page, okay? And again, no classes, verify the enrollment, check the course start date. Sometimes students log into Blackboard and say, my course isn't there. And we check the start date, and maybe it's a late start course. And we say it's not there yet because the course hasn't started yet. So always check those course start and end dates. And again, if they were just recently registered, Banner probably hasn't sent that information to Blackboard yet. Okay. All right. So I just mentioned the Assist page. So if you, again, that main menu in Blackboard, you can have a student do that for you. Go to the Assist page and open the Clear Your Browser History document and have them print it out for you, print it or email it to you, and you can have a copy of that. But on that Assist page, we also have a link to the dual credit counselors. We have a link to tutoring, the libraries, to distance learning. We have a link to this Learning with Blackboard student handbook. Tons and tons of EPCC resources are accessible through that Assist page. So if your students can log into Blackboard now, but the course isn't open, it might be a good exercise to have students log into Blackboard and take a look at that Assist page and have them go through it. It could be a nice exercise these next couple of days before the term begins, okay? So we have a question here. How long does one have to wait for Blackboard to clear itself once a black screen of death appears? It should be instant. As soon as you clear the browser history, close the browser and reopen it, and you should be able to log in. It doesn't take a lot of time. What might take a little bit of time is if you've never cleared out your browser history, the process of clearing that browser history can take maybe 30 seconds, but it should be instantaneous. And if it's not working, visit our virtual office so that we can help you. It could be an issue with the device, okay? Okay. And it could be, you get it a lot because you tend to leave Blackboard open and not work in it. Maybe you're working on something else. It happens a lot, okay? All right, so Respondus Lockdown Browser and Monitor. This tool is used by some faculty. It's not required, but faculty who choose to use it to help deter cheating and to verify student identities when taking high stakes assessments. So it's a test proctoring application that requires, in many cases, a webcam. So all school district computers and computer labs should already have this installed. Now, Respondus just recently released some updates about operating systems and what is required. Andy, our technical coordinator, has already communicated all that information to the school districts. As a matter of fact, we are having a virtual meeting with all schools and school districts, whoever can attend, with all the IT departments, a joint meeting, just to make sure everyone's on the same page so that the semester can start successfully next week. And we hope to make this a practice every semester, okay? But the moment students begin having issues with lockdown browser, it's important that you contact your instructor. You can also contact the IT department at your campus or your school. And of course, you can also contact distance learning because we need to solve these issues immediately. We've run into issues where or situations where it's November and we've finally told that for 3 months, students have not been able to use Lockdown Browser and it's already November. So these issues need to be communicated immediately. Hopefully it's an easy fix, but better that it be an easy fix than we find out too late and it's a more complicated fix that needs time. So the moment you have issues, contact your ISD tech because it could be something with just an update on the device, but they have Andy Lawrence's direct number and he's in really good contact with him and we can figure this out. Time is of the essence in these courses, and we need to get students access to all the things they need. Okay, so communicate with us as soon as you have technical issues. Student college email. It's very, very important that students check their email. I know young adults nowadays don't like using email, but it's going to be a fact of life once they reach their professional careers. That's just the way it is. So to access their email, they're going to use those same login credentials. They're going to log into my EPCC and click where it says email, and they can read their college email. Now, there's a connection between Blackboard and college email. They can opt into notifications from Blackboard about what kind of notifications they're going to get in their email. They'll also receive copies of announcements that instructors post in their EPCC email, reminders the instructor might send, but most importantly, they'll also get submission receipts. Anytime a student submits an assessment, whether it be a test or an assignment, they'll get a receipt in their email as proof that they submitted that assignment. Each submission has a unique number and it'll have information like the name of the assignment, the name of the course, the date and time that assignment was submitted, and if it's something that students have to submit like an essay or a research paper, the size of the file. Because gone are the days of dog ate my homework. It's 2024, now it's Blackboard ate my homework. And so the student insists that they submitted an assignment, the instructor is going to say, show me the receipt, show me the proof, okay? And that proof is in the email, and they can send that to the instructor, forward that email to the instructor. Here is my receipt. Now, sometimes what happens, because students are clever, they'll hit submit without actually attaching anything and blame Blackboard for a zero size file. Faculty are aware of this. If it says the size of the file is 0, that means the student didn't attach anything. Thank you, Lorena. And these are examples of what those receipts look like. One is for, I think, kind of like a test, and the other is for an assignment showing you the size of the file. Okay, so these receipts are really important. They're evidence that they did submit those assignments. Now, faculty also have a way of confirming those numbers, because it could be that a student says, I deleted the receipt, but I have the confirmation number, which is suspicious already. The instructor can say, send me that number. The instructor can copy and paste that number into their course in the gradebook. And if it matches something in the course, it will pop up. If it doesn't match anything, that's either a made up number, or it could be a legitimate confirmation number, but maybe for another course, another assignment, some other semester. Okay, so students are clever, they'll try just about anything, but those receipts are important. Okay, so let me check here the chat. Okay, we got some talking about the browsers. So the handbook, for those of you who are instructors, we have the instructor handbook. You can get that on the institution page, but we also have a student handbook, and we put a student handbook out every semester. And the handbook is a really good document to also go over with students those first days or even the week before EPCC courses begin. You need something to kind of start working on with students. This handbook is a great document to start going over with students. It talks about dates for the semester, technical requirements, tips for navigating Blackboard, and a lot of other really great stuff. You can access the student handbook in Blackboard through the assist page. Again, have a student access it for you, email it to you, or print it. You may not want to print it, it's about 14 pages, but maybe they can email it to you. You can pull it up on a screen in front of your class and go over that handbook. I think it's a really great resource for students. Okay. Where to go when you or your students need help. This is really important. If the students are having issues with their school issued device, whether it's the desktop in a lab or their laptops, it's important that they talk to the school or the district IT department immediately. For example, browser issues. It's important that browsers be updated, kept up to date. The installation of Lockdown Browser or updates to Lockdown Browser. All those issues should be addressed with the school IT department immediately. Whoops, the other way. There we go. If you're having issues with Blackboard, Respondus Lockdown Browser, or Monitor, Collaborate, Smarter Measure, or UJA, you contact us, Distance Learning. So some people may be surprised to find out that we are not an IT department. We are not IT. We are actually an instructional department under Division of Instruction, specifically under Dr. Paula Mitchell, under Instruction and Student Success. So we are an instructional department that deals with instructional technology, but the scope of the technology we work with is very narrow, just the ones you see on the screen. If there are issues with Banner, My EPCC, email, college login credentials, the website, pretty much any other technology that's not listed on this slide, that is all the IT department at 6440. Okay. Now, the distance learning department, we are available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And one of the best ways to get help from us is to join our virtual office. Because Blackboard is so visual, when someone is trying to explain the issues they're having over the phone, it's really difficult to figure out what the issue is, because believe it or not, we have students or faculty saying, I'm clicking on the thingy and it's not working. And we're, what thingy are you talking about, right? We don't understand what you're talking about. But if they come or you come to our virtual office, we can have the user share their screen and we can see exactly what thingy they're clicking on. And we can tell them, no, you're clicking on the wrong thingy. Click on the other thingy on the left-hand side. So to be able to see exactly what the issue is can help us troubleshoot and help direct the student or the instructor in the right direction. Okay, so our virtual office is the best place to call. Now, if it's after hours or it's the weekend, students, faculty can call the Blackboard Help Desk. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Okay, they will help you with your technical issue. And this is for technical assistance. If they can't help you for whatever reason, they'll bump the ticket up to our office and then we'll contact you to figure out that issue. Okay, but the whole point here is ask for help. Reach out so that we can take care of these issues early. So if you need help with My EPCC, again, login credentials, browser, web banner, Teams, OneDrive, all of those technologies, that is, again, the EPCC IT department at 831-6440. So if the student is having issues with any of the, issues with any of the items on this slide, they need to contact their instructors. So if they don't understand instructions or directions, or there are lack of instructions and directions, they need to contact their instructor. And like Miss Sue mentioned, the student needs to be empowered. This is their course. They need to feel empowered enough to contact the instructor and contact them immediately. They need to use their voices. Okay, if there's missing or unavailable course content, technical issues, because sometimes the technical issues are not technical issues, they're user issues. I can't access my test. Well, the instructor hasn't opened it yet, but it's supposed to be open. Well, we're not going to open it for the instructor, right? The instructor has to be the one to open the test. So I would say about 80% of the time, the technical issues are not technical issues, they're user issues. And so those items need to be addressed with the instructor. Missed deadlines, issues with publisher content and access codes, things of that nature, they need to be addressed to the instructor first. And then once the instructor tries to fix those issues, if there is a technical issue, we'll certainly work with the instructor to fix that. That is it. It's a lot. Any questions about Blackboard and how to help students be successful using Blackboard? Okay. All right.
Well, thank you, Luz. That was
Of course.
wonderful.
Anytime.
Are we sure we don't have any other questions or comments? Did we get to everything in the chat? I saw one. It had to do with if a student does not have a class on Blackboard. Did you address that, Luz?
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
it be? Yeah, I thought so. I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for attending. I think, Lorena, were you going to
Yeah, I
post
just
the
wanted
sign
to
in one more
say
time?
if you weren't able to see the chat to be able to sign in, please email
Oh.
me right after this. I'll send you the links there directly so that you're able to get your credit and make sure that you get put on our attendance records. We will still download the team's attendance, but it doesn't always give full information if we need to confirm any participants.
I forgot
That was
about that.
it.
Is that a new function in Teams? That
What?
people not being able to see the chat?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna look into that a little more.
Yeah. I was just kind
Yeah.
of surprised by that. Well, thank you so much for attending. You don't have to sign in again.
Yeah,
It was
once
just
is good.
once is good both. If you are going to get faculty development credit because you have an EPCC ID number, you need to do that second sign in as well. Well, I hope you have a great semester. Remember that, and Lorena has our contact info. Luz has given you great contact information. Dean Badillo's office and Dean Badillo herself are great sources of information. And Lorena and I are always really happy to help and to hear from you as well. So we hope you have a great spring semester, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, Lou.